I just finished watching the Capcom Showcase at Summer Games Fest, and holy heck, this was 35 minutes of very crazy details about everything from Monster Hunter to Street Fighter to just so much Resident Evil insanity, and I want to talk about the goods and the bads. What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here. Hi, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm a Resident Evil fanatic, but that was the end of the presentation. Let's go through this chronologically, starting off with a bunch of talk about Monster Hunter Sunbreak. So, Monster Hunter Rise has obviously been a gigantic success for Capcom in general. It seems like every single year, Monster Hunter just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this expansion seems to be truly massive. It seems like they're adding in tons of new weapons, all sorts of new locations, tons of new monsters. Like, it seems like a very, very good time. But I'll be completely honest with you guys, I have not actually played Monster Hunter in over a year. And while Sunbreak seems to be very, very impressive, I'm probably never going to play it. Although they did actually say they are going to be releasing a free demo for Sunbreak, and you know, that sort of piques my interest. The fact that I can try this out at $0, maybe I will experience it for myself because it certainly looks good. It seems like they've done some sort of big graphic patch because whatever is going on with these new beasties, it looks enticing. But now let's talk about the weird middle part of it. There was a lot of just blatant advertising inside this showcase. Now, that's pretty obvious. That's the point of this. It is a press conference. It is about selling video games. But they showed these very short, mundane trailers. They redisplayed a bunch of older trailers for stuff like Street Fighter 6 or Capcom Fighting Collection and didn't provide any additional details, which seemed like kind of a waste of your very limited time. And after this, they went into definitely what I consider to be the worst part of this presentation, which was Exo Primal. They showed a ton of new gameplay for Exo Primal and finally explained what the heck this game actually is, because initially it looked to be like Dino Crisis in space. But it's not that. Exo Crisis is a game that seems to be a squad-based shooter where you and a team of other mech players are going to be going against armies and armies of monster-style dinosaurs that are being teleported into these cities by a giant robot. Now, this robot is a huge AI that wants to try and make the suits as strong as possible. As you level up, as you customize your weapons, as you get better at fighting the dinosaurs, you're going to get more powerful, and somehow that helps the robot out. So I guess it's your job to try and work together with your team in order to possibly survive at some point. But to be quite frank, this gameplay looked incredibly bland and generic. They announced a bunch of specific modes that are going to be in it. Like, apparently you're going to be doing stuff like base defense. There's one where you have to take down certain targets. So there will be like a mega dinosaur that you need to defeat in order to win a mission. They said that there's going to be like special ones where you have to shred energy charged dinosaurs to power up a battery or something like that. They also said that the gameplay is going to be very separate from the story, it sounds like. You'll play missions just randomly online, and sometimes it'll give you a cutscene that explains more about the plot of this universe. This just seems like such a bad idea. They did announce officially today that they're going to be doing a beta before the game comes out. I'll probably check out that, but as it stands, Exo Primal kind of looks like crap. But let's talk about the other bizarre thing they did. So this year is obviously the 10th anniversary of Dragon's Dogma, which is still one of the most beloved and least talked about Capcom properties. Dragon's Dogma is like Japanese Dungeons and Dragons. It's very Dark Souls in its aesthetic, but it has such great mage classes and intense magic. Like, Dragon's Dogma and later on its expansion Dark Arisen are truly 10 out of 10 experiences, and so they said that, hey, guess what? We're going to be doing a birthday stream. Is this an announcement for an announcement? Is this an announcement to just show a different trailer? Like, literally, we have no idea what the heck this is supposed to be, but you know what? Maybe it's a trailer for a trailer for a trailer, because that's what we all do these days. Now let's get to the good stuff. They showed off so much Resident Evil. Now, they talked about everything involving Village. Let's actually start there because I'm actually losing my mind a bit here. Resident Evil Village is a truly fantastic game. I love it so freaking much, from Lady D to the Mercenaries mode to the amazing story itself. I love, love, love Resident Evil Village. So what we're about to get is a new thing that's going to be called the Winters Project. So obviously the main character is Ethan Winters. This is part of essentially a re-release of the game, which is going to be called Gold. They do this with all the Resident Evils. So this right here is Resident Evil 7 Gold. They always do this. They've done it with all of them. So this Gold is going to have tons and tons and tons of new content in it. Now, I actually wrote it down here. They've remade the entire game in third person, so you can see Ethan Winters, which means they've redone all the animations in the entire game, so you can see the monsters better, you can see their takedowns, you can see how Ethan's fighting back. They have added in a completely new story chapter that takes place 16 years after the main game, where we play as Ethan Winters' daughter Rose, and she teleports her mind into the Megamycete, you know, that big super brain from the original story of Resident Evil Village. She's inside that. It looks like it's going to be some sort of like warped horror experience. We're going to be possibly going against the Duke and slimy monsters. This seems incredibly freaking good. They did say the entirety of that DLC is going to be in third person. I think it looks freaking fantastic. They also said that Mercenaries mode is getting a huge update. So obviously Mercenaries mode is the fun thing where you just run around and blast monsters to get time. Well, Mercenaries mode is adding in Heisenberg, the hammer-wielding monster himself, and Lady Dimitrescu. In fact, they've remade the entire game, so when you're playing Mercenary mode as Lady D, because she's 9 feet freaking tall, she sees the battlefield differently. She's towering above, and she uses melee to chop people up. This is extremely cool. They're also adding in new maps to Mercenaries mode. Like, all of this is extremely my freaking style. Like, looking at this now, the entire Resident Evil Village experience is great. This is about to push it into the true echelons of a horror masterpiece. Like, seriously, sitting here, I am still just completely blown away by the fact that Capcom is pouring so much budget into doing this right. But let's talk about what they did that was a bit peculiar with the Resident Evil 4 remake. So they did come out and talk quite a bit about how this is going to be a complete reimagining of the game. They want the typical enemies inside this, the Ganados, to be more spooky this time around. They did say this specific quote, "We want to nail the feeling of being lonely and being filled with fear, but that thrilling battles are still inside it." So this was a bit strange. They showed, I counted it, they showed 3 seconds of new gameplay from the Resident Evil 4 remake. They basically showed Leon walking up to the first house at the very beginning of Resident Evil 4. Now, it was spooky, it did look fantastic, but 3 seconds of gameplay, I wish they'd shown him shoot. I wish they'd shown an animation. They did release some official screenshots so we get a better look at Leon and the Ganados and stuff, and that's cool, but I do wish we'd had a bit more on top of it. Now, they ended it off by just showing that all the classic games from the last couple of years, which is Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, and Resident Evil 7, are now getting giant next-gen patches for free right now. If you have the game installed, you can choose to install the next gen patch, so it makes it where if you're playing it on an Xbox Series X, a PlayStation 5, or if you're playing it on PC, they're now going to add in 4K textures, 4K resolution, better frame rate, and ray tracing to the entire game, which to me seems freaking great. That sounds like a very good visual improvement, and I am going to be checking it out as soon as I'm done with this video. But overall, I think I'd give this entire thing an 8 because of the Resident Evil talk. I am let down, like, this whole weird way of, like, kind of almost dismissing Dragon's Dogma seems weird. I wish we'd seen more of Street Fighter 6 instead of just mentioning that Street Fighter 6 exists. But overall, it was really a presentation. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you haven't watched it already, I did do a big video talking about today the PlayStation Plus Premium and checking out some Resident Evil games in that. It was a lot of fun. I'll link it at the end of this video. Thank you for watching this. Keep dreaming. Have a great day. And subscribe. And play Resident Evil. It makes your life better. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.